What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. Today, we're going to be diving deep into the stats of the Razor 9mm SMG, and toward the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing a few excellent attachment combinations for you to try out. And starting it off, as always, let's have a look at our rate of fire, which is 1,000 rounds per minute. This is the fastest fire rate in the SMG category. And this gun is going to be a 5 to 10 shot kill, so it does drop off quite harshly at long range with that 10 shot kill. However, up close and personal, we do get an excellent time to kill potential due to the really fast fire rates at 240 milliseconds. This is actually tied with the MPC-25 as having the best time to kill up close for a full auto SMG. Then when it comes to our headshot potential, it's not great. Without the headshot barrel, we have to hit 4 headshots in a row up close to get a 4-shot kill, which is just not very likely. However, with the headshot barrel, we can cut that down to 2, and if we manage to do that for a 4-shot kill, we get a really nice time to kill at 180 milliseconds. Then getting into our ranges, our maximum damage range is 12 meters, which is right around average for an SMG, and our 6-shot kill range will extend out to about 18 meters. After that, this is where we jump from a 6 to an 8-shot kill, so I would say the most effective range is going to be within that 18-meter range. It's okay if it's still a 6-shot, you're still killing fairly effectively. It's just the moment you jump up to that 8-shot kill, you're suddenly killing a whole lot slower. Then when it comes to our barrels, the long barrel will boost all of our range values by 35%. That's a really nice boost, and therefore I really like that barrel. Or you could use the hybrid barrel for a 20% boost to range or a 12% boost to velocity. When it comes to the velocity barrel that we would normally see, this is actually the prestige attachment, and it has some bonuses on this gun, so we're going to cover that after the base stats. And then finally, just taking a look at rapid fire here, that boosts our rate of fire up to 1,111 rounds per minute, which is ridiculously fast. I think it's totally overkill. But that also comes with a 10% loss to our range and velocity value. Now after that, let's have a quick look at hardcore, and interestingly, this gun doesn't kill in one shot to the body, even right up close. You have to hit a headshot in the maximum damage range in order to get a 1-shot kill, and in the second damage range, it's only a 1-shot kill if you're using the headshot barrel and you get a headshot. So, while everything is usable in hardcore, the Razor 9mm is definitely not a standout. It's not very good relative to the others. Now after that, let's have a look at Hipfire, and it turns out this is tied with the Dravik 45 as having the worst Hipfire spread in the SMG category. However, unlike the Dravik 45, we have a really fast rate of fire, and fast rates of fire tend to be well suited to hip firing. So I would say it's at least more effective than the Dravik, but overall, relative to the other SMGs, we just don't have the greatest spread here. Then after that, let's have a look at our recoil, and with this gun, you can see it lacks stabilization. There's a lot of gun kick. It does bounce around a fair amount as it follows the recoil path, and early on, we've got more initial recoil than the rest of the recoil pattern. So it does climb on you quite quickly, as expected with a really high fire rate, and it will be bouncing around, and as a result, I'd say you really want to get some recoil attachments on this just to take care of some of that recoil. Next, taking a look at handling, it's actually a little bit on the slower side for the SMG category, but still not bad at all. Like our aim down sight time's 220 milliseconds, that's totally fine. Sprint out time's 160 milliseconds, again, not amazing for an SMG, but really not bad at all. And then our slide to fire and dive to fire times are 360 milliseconds and 440 milliseconds respectively. Now, one thing about the really fast fire rate of this gun is you have to reload fairly often. And our reload add time with this is 1.55 seconds, which is right around average for an SMG, and we do have a standard 30-round magazine capacity. So if you want to change this, we have 2 different fast mag attachments to choose from, and Fast Mag 2 has a ridiculously fast reload at just 0.78 seconds, but a smaller magazine capacity at just 25 rounds. My personal favorite is the 40-round mag though, since there are no downsides attached to this. You're just getting those 10 extra rounds with the same reload time, same handling, and same mobility stats. And speaking of mobility, when it comes to our movement speeds, they're just a little bit below average for an SMG, so it doesn't really excel in this area, but it's also not terrible. And there we go, that wraps it up for all of the base stats of the Razor 9mm. Now let's talk about that prestige attachment, which is the Sidewinder barrel. And with this one, we see an insane boost to our velocity, a 60% boost, so it's now 800 meters per second. We also see a huge improvement to gun kick. It actually cuts our gun kick value in half, while slightly improving horizontal and vertical recoil control. And this just comes at the cost of reduced handling, so a slightly slower aim down sight and sprint out speed. And we can see here our hit scan range is now 40 meters, which is honestly overkill for an SMG. This gun's not really all that effective at that range anyway. So honestly, while it is an amazing boost, it's just not really going to be that important, in my opinion at least. I'm more so interested in the recoil improvement and especially that gun kick improvement. So let's have a look at it. As we can see here, compared to the base, It's definitely more stable, it's not bouncing around quite as much, and you can see that reduction to vertical and horizontal recoil control. I'll be honest, I was expecting this recoil plot to look a little better than it actually does, and that's not to say that this doesn't help very nicely with recoil, I just thought it was going to help a little bit more with it being the special prestige attachment. And the downside to our handling isn't too bad, it just adds 15 milliseconds to our aim down sight and sprint out times. So I would say this isn't a terrible choice by any means, but at the end of the day, it's not really a go-to attachment for me on the Razor 9mm, largely because I would rather increase my damage range with the long barrel than my velocity value with this one. And so with all of that covered, we can now move into some excellent attachment combinations, and the first one I wanted to share has been my go-to with this lately, and I've really been enjoying this setup. This is my accurate stealth build. So with this, we're using the suppressor to stay off the radar, we've got the long barrel for that really nice 35% boost to our damage ranges, we've got the lateral precision underbarrel to help straighten up that horizontal recoil a bit. We have the 40 round mag on this, just because we burn through 30 round mags way too quickly in my eyes. And then finally, we're topping this off with the control stock, which is the one that helps with recoil. And with all of this combined, we get a much more manageable recoil pattern, especially with those initial shots fired. They're much tighter together and easier to manage. And essentially all of our other stats are unchanged, so there's really no downside to this power that we're gaining. And I do find that the handling and mobility stats, while they aren't standouts for the SMG category, they're totally fine, they're totally usable. I really don't have an issue with them as is. And that's why I've just found leaning into accuracy and range has helped a lot with this particular gun. And that same mindset carries over to my second build, which is my gunfighter build. And with this one, since we have the extra attachment slots, we're using the ELO sights. We've got the compensator on this to help as much as possible with that vertical climb. This time we are using that prestige barrel to really help with that stabilization to our recoil, and it's nice, I guess, to have that velocity boost. We're once again using the lateral precision underbarrel, the 40 round mag, the control stock, the agile laser, which is also going to improve our recoil stabilization even more, and it gives us a bit of a boost to our damage range, which is nice as well. And then finally, we're topping this off with buffer springs, so we're really going all in on recoil control. And you can really see that come out in the recoil pattern. This is a very accurate way to use this gun, and it allows you to stretch out quite comfortably. However, this time with that prestige barrel, we are harming our aim down sight and sprint out time a little bit, but they're still just not bad at all. I wouldn't be quite as aggressive with this setup as the previous one, but I feel much more confident stretching out my ranges with this one compared to the previous one. And I would say overall, this is quite a versatile setup. Now, in saying that, an area where the Razor 9mm really excels is with tac stance, because it's got such a high rate of fire, and that tends to be well suited to tac stance, where we're spraying and praying a little bit and may miss the odd bullet here or there. So with this setup, of course, we have the tactical laser so we can use tac stance, but then we're combining that with the Hawker ported compensator and the constrictor pad, because these both help with hipfire and tactical stance spreads. We've also got the EAM Light Path foregrip, which helps with our aim walking movement speed and our hipfire movement speed a little bit. And then finally, we're once again topping this off with the 40 round magazine. It's just the nicest balance there for a magazine on this gun. And with this, you can see we get a very nice and tight tac stance spread at roughly 1.1 degrees based on my hand testing, which isn't perfect, but at least gets you on the ballpark. You can see just how accurate it is though. And it's also worth noting, we see an improvement to our slide to fire and dive to fire time with this. That's also due to the ported compensator. And this just allows you to be really hyper aggressive. You can strafe really quickly in gunfights while in tac stance as well. And like I said, I just find tac stance is very well suited to this gun with its very high rate of fire. And therefore, if you guys haven't tried it out yet on the Razor, definitely give it a shot. I think you'll be very impressed. And there we go. That is going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the Razor 9mm. And when it comes to my thoughts on this gun, it's actually my go-to SMG at the moment. I mean, I was really enjoying the Dravik for its versatility overall, but I often found myself wanting to be a bit more aggressive, and especially after the recent attachment buffs that these got, especially the recoil attachments, that made the Razor 9mm stand out a whole lot more as long as you're using those attachments, which I do, and I feel very comfortable with this gun in my hands. I think it just suits my playstyle very well. I generally like getting myself right up close and personal and being hyper aggressive, and this SMG is just perfect for that. But of course, those are just my opinions, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about the Razor in those comments down below. Also, if you guys have missed any of the previous gun guides, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description of the video, and I'm open to suggestions for any future episodes, so let me know which one you'd like me to cover next. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.